So with your permission, so the bad news first. The bad news is that I've been allotted 1 hour to speak. And the good news is that I will probably take less than half that time, because I know that students are sitting here before lunch and they need to get some food for their stomach as well. So they're having lots of food for thought. But as I go along, I would need you to respond. Maybe raise your hands, or maybe just to say yes or no. Am I audible? First of all, just raise your hands. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Only please. I mean, am I audible to everyone? Can I see hands being raised? Yeah, because if you don't do activities, you will feel sleepy. So I need to shake you off from your sleep as well. So you will have to maybe respond at times. Is the screen visible to you all? I mean, can you see a gentleman on the screen?
Yes, yes, sir.
Any idea who is he? He's Daniel Kahneman, the only, one of the first persons from the field of psychology to get a Nobel Prize in economics. Have you heard of Daniel Kahneman? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Okay, at least one of them has. How many of you are sleeping? Can you raise your hands? Okay, nobody is sleeping. Thank you so much. So he is the person who introduced framing theory. And I want you to pay attention to this thing, because this is something very relevant to what all of us do. And you do ask questions, or you do please, just shake your hand as we go along. So he is one of the persons who spoke about the framing theory. And I will not go into a lot of those details, just to suggest that often, can you see the screen? Is the screen visible to everyone? Can you see this person on the screen thinking something? Yes or no? Students, yes, can you just, maybe raise your hands, a thumbs up or whatever? Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So often we make shortcuts. There are two ways of thinking that we are going to talk about here. One is fast thinking. The other is slow thinking. I did not make it up. It was done by that gentleman whose picture I just showed you, Daniel Kahneman. And he got a Nobel Prize for that. So of course, you can understand that it's such an important thing. Very often, we make judgments about people based not on our, elaborate approach to thinking, but based on certain heuristics, based on certain characteristics. Because we do not want to spend a lot of energy. We do not want to spend a lot of energy always with thinking. So that is why every time we are not thinking about, most of the things. We are just trying to draw conclusions from what I see. I don't know about you all, but there was this movie called Pushparaj, which has been very popular in Bengal here as well. So have you heard of that movie, Pushparaj and all that? Allu Arjun, the Telugu superstar. You have? I don't know what was the name of the movie, but it was very popular. So the moment, we see a gentleman, trying to dress up like Allu Arjun or whatever, so we make judgment about that person, right? Can I hear yes or no? So either say yes or no. Please respond, because your response is very important.
Yes.
Especially the ones I'm talking about the students, because I can see you on my screen, and based on your reactions, I will know what to elaborate and what not to elaborate. What I'm trying to tell you is that on certain occasions, we do not expend full mental energy in trying to draw conclusions about some people. And that happens with journalists also, that happens with the audience also. And that is one system of thinking which is known as fast thinking. Just based on our past experience, or based on certain characteristics of the person or the event, we draw conclusions. We make judgments about the person. Don't we always do that all the time? When a person is dressed in a particular manner, we think that, okay, he must be, an extrovert or things like that. So instantly, within a few seconds, we make judgments about people. Do we do that all the time? Yes or no?
Probably, sir.
Yes, thank you so much. Students, yes or no? Do we always, when you're talking, or when you see a gentleman sitting on the screen in front of you, immediately you start making judgments about that person, or even if you don't like, you based on the accent, or the way he or she talks, or the way he or she dresses, you make judgments about that people. So these are known as heuristics, as you can see on the screen. I don't want to get into the details here. Just a very important thing is about this 1 hour long lecture was recorded on and it's put on YouTube that I was talking about. I will ask Dinesh Babu to share those links with you later on. But this is a book that I was talking about. Can you see the screen? The book, is this visible on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman, winner of Nobel Prize in Economics. And this is what we are talking about, judgment under uncertainty. So this particular book talks about two kinds of thinking. And this is where I want you to put your stress on, because I'm going to talk about 18 cognitive biases, some of which we are aware of, and some of which you'll probably be hearing for the first time. So the first kind of thinking is known as the system one thinking. It operates automatically. I was just trying to tell you about that. It operates automatically and quickly with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control. So this fast thinking is the system one thinking. Another kind of thinking which we pay a lot of attention. If you're reading something very useful or if you're engrossed in something, you put your cognitive energy there, and you will think elaborately about that. Communication has a lot of theories about all that. It's known as elaboration, likelihood, or whatever. But right now I wanted to emphasize on these two things. One is fast thinking, the other is slow thinking. Is this point clear to everyone? This is there in everybody's brain. Is that clear to everyone? Can I have a show of hands, yes or no? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So there are these two systems of thinking which is there in all of us, whether we like it or not. At times we make judgments about people even without thinking about anything. So when we get a piece of news on WhatsApp, or when we see a piece of news on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, often if it is similar to what we already believe in, if the news is very similar to what we believe in, we do not expend our cognitive energy. We use the fast thinking process to accept that it must be true. Am I clear about that?
Yes.
And very often journalists also do that. There is a new article that has come up that also I will share with Dr. Dinesh Babu and your teachers, and they will share that article with you. How journalists decide what is new. So often they go for this fast thinking process. As learned communicators or as professional communicators, we must know about these two options, or we must be aware of what is happening. That is why this fast thinking, slow thinking is something that I wanted to emphasize upon. And even that book is available on Amazon and all. And if you can, have a look at that, because psychology is a very important subject for us communicators as well. And that's why we keep on, talking about many of those systems in our research as well. Is the screen visible to you all? So can you see the difference between the fast and slow here?
Yes.
Okay. So the fast is, high capacity, is non-conscious, it's often biased, it is automatic, it is associative, and it is, very similar to animal cognition. So it is there and it is based on basic emotions. So that is the first kind of thinking. The second thing is the slow thinking, where it is conscious, where it is controlled, where it is rule-based, and it has evolved late. So it is new mind. The fast thinking is old mind. It evolved early, and that's why it is very close to animal cognition. And the second is the slow thinking, which is distinctly human, based on explicit knowledge and complex emotions. And we know about the left and the right side of the brain. How many of you have heard of the left and the right side of the brain being different? One at the last bench, two, three, and we know about that. Wonderful. So this is so nice to know that all of you are aware that the left side of the brain is about rational thinking and all those numbers and logic and so on and so forth. And the right side of the brain is about emotions and so on and so forth. So now this realization that our human brain is a very, very kind of a complex organ, and it operates under different conditions, is important for us to understand as communicators. Now with this background, I want to go very quickly. I will run through the first bias which is known as the confirmation bias. How many of you have heard of confirmation bias? Many of you have heard of confirmation bias. Wonderful. Can any one of you please hold on the mic and explain in your words what do you mean by confirmation bias? Anything. I mean, just I want to know your views. Is the mic available there? Can someone hand over to people who raise their hands? Anyone?
Sir, I'll say what I know.
Ha ha ha.
If a person know any kind of information from a confirmed source like a newspaper or from the Google, they know that it is true. And when a person, like, if they're talking about topic to another person, they know it's true. So if the another person is misinformed, they can say, yeah, no, it's not that. I know it from a newspaper. So what I'm saying is true and you're wrong.
Yeah. Thank you so much. What's your name?
Gauri.
Gauri. Thank you, Gauri. That's very well said. So we'll and thank you for this response, because we need these responses to go ahead. So what happens is that, say for example, I'm sure that some of you are supporting and some of the IPL teams. IPL is a cricket tamasha that goes on every day. So maybe you might have your own teams. You're supporting maybe Chennai Super Kings or Royal Challengers Bengaluru, or I don't know if someone is supporting Kolkata Knight Riders, but you may, I don't know. So okay, thank you so much. So if, for example, your team or the star that you support is winning, you want to see their performance again and again and again. Whenever you see an Indian victory, you want to see the highlights again and again. But if it is talking about an Indian loss, you will not even see the highlights. You will just shut it down. So to just put it simply, we want to consume content which is very similar to things that I already believe in. We try and consume content which is similar to things that I already believe in. So if I believe, for example, that Mammootty, for example, is a wonderful actor, then I am going to always look for stories which shows that Mammootty is a wonderful actor. Or if I believe that a party is doing a good job, then I want to consume content which shows a party in good light. Does it make sense?
Yes,
Does
sir.
it? Yes, it does. So this explains, or in your communication classes, you'll be studying the theory of cognitive dissonance. That's Leon Festinger's cognitive dissonance. If I am given content which is not similar to what I believe in, I have always believed that Shah Rukh Khan is a lousy actor. Now suddenly somebody is telling me that he's a good actor. I don't want to believe that content. Am I clear? I'm not saying that, I don't believe with that statement. I'm just suggesting that if we kind of believe in one kind of thing, we always look out for those kind of content. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir. You're very clear.
Well, wonderful, wonderful. So now I go on to something which is known as the anchoring bias. And I'll very quickly talk about some of these biases. So I won't ask you about this anchoring bias, but just to show you. And that again is, let me just put up. Can you read the screen?
Yes, sir.
We are influenced by information that is already known or that is shown. This causes predetermined tunnel vision and influences final decision making. Let me explain this. It appears slightly awkward. My starting point about a person or an event is things that I already know. For example, if I know that China does not, China produces goods which do not last long, probably from somewhere it has come to my mind, right? We say about that very. Am I audible to everyone? Is everyone listening? Can I have a show of hands? Is everyone listening? Yes. Last bench.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Because when you're raising your hands, even if you're feeling sleepy, you'll be woken up from your sleep. That's why I want you to do that exercise on and off. So anchoring effect is the effect of something, of knowing something. So if I know, for example, And because of my knowledge of the students of Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, that they are very, very intelligent people. So whatever I speak will be based on this anchoring effect, that they're intelligent people. And then I will start talking about that. If I, for example, I think that okay, all Chinese are like anti-Indians, for example, then whenever I'm talking to them, it will be based on my prior idea about what they believe in. So this again is a very, very important bias, which is known as the anchoring bias. So for example, if through some ideas you get to know that about any number or anything, so if you get to know it first, so that is why communicators always want to bring in an information first, because that anchors itself. So if I tell you that okay, he has scored 50 centuries, so probably 50 will be there in your mind, and whatever information you get will be based on this particular thing. This again is another very, very important effect, which is known as the bandwagon effect. Have you heard about this?
Yes, sir.
Students, have you heard? Yes or no? Can someone? You've heard about the bandwagon. Can someone explain what is it in your own words?
Okay,
I want to
okay.
hear your voice. Yeah.
So when a controversy around an actor or a famous person is happening, people will know from, even if it's fake, people will think, oh yeah, it's this and that. Okay, so this actress have an affair with this actress, and people will believe it is that, and sometimes it spreads like wildfire. So uh, that's that. I think so.
Okay.
It's like a bandwagon. Following, I guess. Oh yeah,
So okay.
like
So
I
if
explain what I can.
so, it is like if other if say for example all these 5 people on the first bench, they are using for example a new app. It could be Signal or whatever. Others will also be kind of others will also attempt to join the bandwagon. So this is a bias that if some people are doing it, we must also do it. FOMO. I'm sure you know what is FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
Wonderful. So because of that, this bandwagon effect works. Everybody is watching that movie RRR, so I should also watch it,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
do you have RRR in Malayalam also, or is it in Telugu and Tamil only?
yes,
Are you having that movie here in Kochi?
yes, sir.
Junior NTR and what is it? Ramcharan Teja. You have that?
Yes, sir. It was wonderful.
And how many of you have watched it? No wonder it has crossed 1,000 crores. Wonderful, wonderful. So see, I mean, it's the same here as well. If I were asking the same in Calcutta as well, even the dubbed version, the dubbed Hindi version is doing quite well. So I would get the same number of hands here as well. So that is the bandwagon bias. Now again, the scarcity bias. I'm sure many of you would have bought products on maybe Amazon or Flipkart or online or whatever. How often you've seen that only 2 left? When you're trying to buy certain things, they say only 2 left or only the last one there. Have you seen that? Yes or no? So very often you see that, and that is there to create that scarcity. So whenever you think that something is scarce, even if you were not willing to buy it, now you'll buy it because there is this scarcity bias, right? So it places a higher value on object that is scarce and a lower value on something that is available in abundance. So this is again a very important bias. Projection bias, very important. Any idea what is projection bias? Anyone apart from Gauri? Gauri has already spoken twice. I want to hear another voice if possible. Or Gauri is your spokesperson. Anyone else? No one? Can I hear anyone? Please,
Sir,
I mean,
what
yeah.
projection means, but I don't know this particular term, projection bias. But I have yes.
Yeah, please tell me. Yeah.
So a person has certain ideals and their own beliefs. Uh, so they uh, project their ideas and beliefs into certain like a topic when they're having a conversation with another person. So is that it? I don't know.
Okay, okay, very close to that. If I believe that, for example, Virat Kohli is a good batsman, I project onto others that everybody else is also believing that. I believe that the traffic system is very bad. I project onto others. This bias exists that whatever I am thinking, the others are also thinking similar. We often do that mistake. And we will study what is known as a third person effect, but this is very real. We often assume that everybody thinks like us. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
And that is also often known as knowledge curve, especially for teachers, because we assume that the knowledge of the students might also be of the same order, or that is also known as the knowledge curve. We assume that everybody knows, and we might not be clear about that. Is also a possibility. That is also a real thing with journalism. Journalists often assume that the readers or viewers, they know. They might not know, right?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. So that is the projection bias. Then we have the action bias. If there is a chance between doing something or not doing something, you will opt out for the action bias. I'll just hold on for a while. Can anyone read on the screen? Please read what is there on the screen. Someone?
Action bias pushes us to act when faced with ambiguity.
Yeah, please go ahead. The entire slide.
This favors doing something or anything without any prior analysis. This phenomenon even leads to develop solutions when we have not yet defined the problem well. We need to appear active, even if it does not lead to anything.
Yes, so we need to keep on doing. At times, it's not required, but when given a choice, and that is why when we are speaking, we do not like silence. So a lot of people, they want to intersperse their silence with oh, I know, and these words like that, because they think that if I'm going silent, then probably it is not creating the effect. So similarly, if we are not doing something, then we think that we are lacking out, or this is something that is not right. So we end up doing something even when it is not required. Is this clear? Action bias, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Raising hands, please. Everyone? Yes or no? Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. Halo effect.
So, should I read?
Okay, instead of reading, I'll just okay, yeah, you can read. Yeah, because someone is asking. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. I'll just make it like. Please read. Yeah.
It is the phenomenon whereby we assume that because people are good at doing A, they will be good at doing B, C, and hence D. Or the reverse, because they are bad at doing A, they will be bad at doing B, C, and D. The phrase was first coined by Edward Thorndike in 1920 to describe the way that commanding officers rated their soldiers. He found that officers usually judged their men as being either good right across the board or bad.
And that's very important. We often assume that somebody is good at cricket means he might be good at any other sports, or he might be good at other things as well. Or maybe someone speaks very well, he might be very good in other activities as well. We often assume, and probably that's because how through our films, or through our stories, how we have defined our heroes. Our heroes are good at everything, aren't they? I'm sure most of us watch Indian movies. So our hero can do everything under the sun, or the heroine, right? He or she can dance and sing and make NASA rockets, and probably go outside the planet and do everything. So that is the hero effect, and that is again something we know that okay, since he's good at this thing, he will automatically be good at the other thing as well, and that we know is a bias. And that's probably as I said, These biases lead to this fast thinking. We make impressions based on these kind of things. So I will because we are running out of time, I'll just kind of jump to some other ones. Let me just go to, yes, this is important. The framing effect, and that's how it becomes more important with journalism. As I said, this entire lecture had been recorded some time back or on a webinar. It's available on YouTube. I will share that with you. But what is framing? Will someone tell me what is framing? What is framing?
Sir, we don't know.
Nobody? Okay. Okay. So we can frame the same thing. Say, for example, I was talking about Daniel Kahneman. He says that if you take this medicine, there is a chance that 100 people might survive. If you take this medicine, there is a chance that 100 people might survive. So you are framing that as survival. If you do not take this medicine, there is a chance that 200 people might die. You're framing the same thing in two different ways. Am I clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
So framing is, you can frame something as negative, you can frame something as positive, you can frame something as patriotic, you can frame something as terrorist, you can frame something as part of a larger conspiracy, you can frame something as a one-off episode. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So that framing has its own effects, and that is where this Kahneman and Tversky's work is all about. I don't want, as I said, in an online class, I don't want to get into all those details. And we were having that discussion on public relations. So there are models of framing in public relations as well. And this is from a paper by Kirk Hallahan, and it's about how you frame situations, or you can even frame attributes or choices or those kind of things. So there are all different kinds of ways in which we frame, and they have all their inherent biases. Is that clear now?
Yes, sir.
And next time, whenever I'm having your classes, and if I ask you that, whether you know framing, all of you will say yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Again, another thing which is known as the pro-innovation bias. I would want one of you to read this so that, probably we can do it faster.
New innovations should be adopted by all members of society, regardless of the wider needs, and are pushed out. Novelty and newness are seen as inherently good, regardless of potential negative impacts like inequality, elitism, environmental damages, etc.
So I'm not saying that innovation is bad. In fact, all of us must have innovation, but just innovation for innovation's sake is probably not good. And or at least we must be aware of asking these questions. There is that wonderful book by Edward de Bono. It's known as Six Thinking Hats. How many of you have heard about that? Six Thinking Hats. If you haven't heard about Six Thinking Hats, please after this class do a Google search and find out about that, because that's very important. It's always important to have an overview, as we say, the 360-degree overview about the good, the bad, about the emotions, about the rationale, and about all those things. So that is very important. Whenever we are talking about these biases, we are talking about biases because we want all of us to have a rounded view of all these things. So that again is very, very important. The next one is known as recency. I have 18, so as you can see, just 5 more. So I'm nearing the end of it. I'm sure all of you are very hungry. You've been sitting here from 10 o'clock and without having anything. So I've also been sitting here. So it's not that I'm sitting at home and we are sitting. I'm there, right there in your classroom. Recency. If I ask you who your top cricketers are, you are going to talk about the recent cricketers you know about. You will not probably talk about Sunil Gavaskar or Kapil Dev or whatever. If I talk to you about your biggest film stars, you probably might not talk about people who have you haven't whose films you haven't seen recently. So that again is a bias. Recent events are easier to remember and can be weighed more heavily than past events or potential future events. So that recency bias is real. Agree with this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. false causality bias. As journalists, we must always remember that correlation is not causation. Just because two things are happening concurrently or two things are happening at the same time does not mean that one thing causes the other. I have a picture to show there, and this does not mean that ice cream causes sunburn. This probably means that because of some other reasons, during sunburn, you end up having ice cream. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So two things very, very important. Two things taking place at the same time. We might be doing a correlation that, the further south you go, the happier people are. So probably that might be a correlation that, okay, for whatever reason, I'm measuring happiness and I'm measuring, their homes, how north or south they are. So that does not mean that, just living in south will make you happy, but that's a correlation that we have observed. So be very, very clear about what is causation and what is correlation. Am I clear about this? Causation and correlation. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Spotlight effect. I'm sure you know about spotlight effect.
Yes, sir. I think we know.
Yes. So I need to hear from you.
So I think this is kind of similar to recency bias.
Yes. So we assume that the spotlight is always on us. When we said, in online classes, of course, we are facing the camera, the spotlight is on us. But when you're walking down the street or whatever, you often feel that as if everyone is watching you. Or you feel as if you are center and, people are always talking about you and so on and so forth. We always assume that because we are always, for us, I am the center. For me, I am the center of the universe. For me, the universe revolves around me. What is the name of this gentleman right in the front, wearing this maroon t-shirt with your hand on your chin? Yes, you. What is your name?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Hare Krishna, the spotlight is on you because of the camera, right? Yeah. Otherwise, in reality, the spotlight is on nobody. We are all engrossed in our things, but often we think, and a lot of things we do, we assume that the spotlight is always on us, or people are always watching us, or they are keeping track of us, or whatever. There is another very related thing, and you must listen to this carefully. It's known as the Hawthorne effect. Hawthorne, Hawthorne effect. Did you have any offline examination ever in your life? Many. Suppose you're writing something. Suppose Hare Krishna. What is the name of the lady to Hare Krishna's right, to your right? Yeah.
Hi, sir.
Yes. What's your name?
Megha.
Megha.
Yeah.
Megha is you're writing something in an examination hall,
Yes,
right? On a sheet of paper. Suddenly, your teacher stands right in front of you and is looking at your paper. What happens?
I'll get nervous.
You stop writing. You start turning pages, because the moment you see you are being watched, now people at the back, they know that they are being watched, so they are all looking at the camera. So the moment you think that you are being watched, your behavior changes. And that is why a lot of people, when we put on the television camera, the way they might have behaved changes because they know they are being watched. So that is known as the Hawthorne effect. And that is why often, these surveys, they do not work properly because people try and give socially desirable answers. Am I clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes.
Wonderful. So that is why the spotlight effect is also very important. Then another one, and this is also important, just two more. So we are in there. How many of you have heard of Dunning and Kruger?
No, sir.
Okay. The Dunning and Kruger effect. Okay, just read this and then I will explain that. That would make more sense. So Megha, are you going to read it?
Yeah. It is a cognitive bias in which people with low ability at the task overestimate their ability. It is related to the cognitive bias of illusion superiority and comes from the inability of people to recognize the lack of ability. We tend to deny our failures more than we realize. We fail to acknowledge the gap that exists between our actual performance and how we perceive our performance.
I hope that makes sense, right? Often, many people, they overestimate their ability. You ask them, will you be able to do that? Yeah, I will be able to do that. People who have probably less experience on certain things, they are probably at times more confident, before they start the work. I'm not saying that you should not be confident, but as I said, that at times people do overestimate their ability. You might be looking someone, you might be looking at someone singing on the screen, and you say, oh my God, singing is so easy, anyone can do that. You will realize only when you stand in front of a mic and you start singing. Or you might think that teachers have a very easy job, they just have to open a PowerPoint and just keep on talking. But when you are on the other side, you will realize that probably it's not so easy as it appears, right?
Yes, sir.
The one behind Megha, on your right side, the gentleman. Yes. You are in some other thought, or you are here in the classroom?
So here only.
Okay. So no bias, right? What's your name? What's your name? Govind. Wonderful. Now this is very important. I want you to see this carefully, everyone. The survivorship bias, because often we do not realize that. I will start with this particular thing, and just look at these holes. Can you see these red marks here?
Yes, sir.
These red marks here. So this probably happened in World War I when these planes were returning to their bases, and they could see the holes there. Can you see this? That these are the places where the holes have been found because of bullet marks, or they've been hit by missiles, or not missiles at that point of time, but they've been hit by enemy artillery. Can you see this? Can you visualize this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what happened when these aeroplanes returned to their bases? Their generals thought that probably this is weak at this place where they've been hit. Can you understand that? Can you understand what I'm trying to tell you? The generals thought that this is where the holes have been caused, and these are weak places. So let's make them stronger by putting in more plates and so on and so forth. This is what generally people will think, that okay, because these are weak, that is why they have holes there. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, till this point it's clear. Now we call this as the survivorship bias. This is not correct. These planes had the holes at these places, but they still managed to return to the bases. The ones who were hit on the other side, maybe at the nose, or at the at this part of the body, or at other parts of the body, they might not have returned. If I talk to you people about education, or about online education, all of you will say good things about online education, because all of you have crossed a barrier and you belong to that socio-economic status where you do not have these problems. But then I will only be talking to people who have survived. Am I clear? Yes or no? The
Yes, sir.
survivorship bias looks at not where these things were hit, but they returned. What about the other planes which did not return? We do not know where they were hit. So probably they were hit here at the head, or here. And that is where it needs to be reinforced, not at these places, because these places are already strong. That is why it could withstand those hits and could return. Am I clear? Common sense would tell you that, okay, this is where the holes are, so let's make it stronger, but it is not true. So that is why we are saying this fast thinking, slow thinking is a very real thing. So just to explain that, it's there on the screen. So please, one of you read that just to emphasize that again.
The Statistical Research Group, SRG, at Columbia University examined the damage done to aircraft that had returned from missions and recommended adding armor to the areas that showed the least damage. Based on this reading, this contradicted the US military's conclusion that most hit areas of a plane needed additional armor. This is due to the logical error of concentrating on people or things that have made it past some selection process and overlook those that did not, typically because of their lack of visibility.
If I take a Twitter poll, it will be lopsided, because I'm not looking at people who could not cross into Twitter. Am I clear? Yes or no? Can I have a raise of hands one last time? Yes or no? Hare Krishna, yes or no? No, yes? Are you saying no comments or what is he saying? Are you raising your hands or you're not raising your hands? Okay, okay, okay. This is the last one, the PELTZMAN effect. Now this happens, and again, there are many other cognitive biases. Again, I have shared one PDF with your teacher. He or she will share with you on your groups or whatever. This is the last bias that I'm talking about today. Because people are wearing these helmets in cricket. You remember there was a time when people did not wear helmets. Have you seen Sunil Gavaskar or maybe Gundappa Vishwanath, maybe 50 years ago? Probably your father's generation would have seen them more. But there was a generation who did not wear those helmets. They were a lot more careful. The present generation, because they know that they have these, kind of safety implements, they can afford to be reckless. Because many people know that there is that airbag in the car that they can drive recklessly. So this is known as the PELTZMAN effect. The reason why we have been discussing all this is because we must be aware of things like, as I said, things like audience. Who are we talking about? Or we must be aware of our own limitations when we are communicating or when we're working as a journalist. So psychology is a very important part of the communication process. It's a very important part of the discipline. A lot of these experimental researches is done in our area as well. So I'm sure you would have found some new things to take away here. And thank you for your interaction, which made my job a lot easier. Otherwise, it's very difficult to talk to a blank screen. So thank you, everyone at this wonderful university. And I can see all that positivity there as well. Maybe, I don't know how many, almost 2,000 kilometers away. So I'm here in the eastern part of India in Kolkata, and you are there in south. So almost 2,000 kilometers away, I can sense that positivity there. I think now all of you deserve some good lunch. So thank you very much. So I end here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the interesting session. Now it's time for the question and answer segment. Does anyone have questions? Any questions? So I think there are no more questions. Anybody? No. We'll conclude the session once again. On behalf of Amrita School of Arts and Science, I thank you, sir, for the interesting and an enlightening session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you all again, and have a good day. Thank you very much.